maybe one thing that I will just mention beforehand is, this is a great example of a collaborative effort with a global system integrator, Accenture in this case, along with Red Hat and the Red Hat portfolio, including OpenShift, but also the greater ecosystem with Dynatrace for observability, and then bringing in Trilio for their consistent backup and restores. And I want to kind of like take the time to just acknowledge that this is a great cross ecosystem play. And given that we are here on the Validated Patterns SIG call, just to mention that we've been doing workshops with a number of the global system integrators. In fact, most recently, last month, we did one in India where we had 9 SIs join in that workshop, Accenture being one of those SIs who was present at that workshop. And typically as we're doing these, we may do it with multiple SIs. We may do it with just one SI, especially if you have some sort of IP that you're trying to develop into a pattern, and perhaps you don't want to share that information across with some of your competitors. But it's certainly a great opportunity, I think, to have some of your practitioners who are driving some of the value for a practice, and driving that repeatability for that practice play, so that you can accelerate your delivery to your clients. I think it's a great opportunity, and something that we want to hear from SIs around the world. If you like to take advantage of what we're doing here in the Validated Patterns workshops, please reach out to myself or Anthony and let us know. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Ricardo.
And then hopefully you folks can do the workshop in EMEA as we were planning to, because that will be very, very interesting. And yes, I'd love to join as well if you come my way. So as we said, this is an architecture that shows a solution about achieving service continuity with partner ecosystem. As Michael just mentioned, here Accenture is the system integrator, and all the partners are Dynatrace and Trilio here. So the main thing about this architecture has been this collaboration that we have with the partners. That's being replicated in other architectures that will be published this year, but this kind of spearheaded some good collaboration between the system integrator and all the partners. What do we want here, or what was the main goal for this architecture? Was its name says it is service continuity, but the initial idea was to be able to have the service continuity when cloud providers are experiencing problems. So customers want to be able to move the data seamlessly across cloud providers whenever there's an issue with one of them, right? Of course, there's not a single solution for this, so the role here that Accenture played was to advise the particular customer in which the architecture is based on what would be the best partners and the best products to use, so that can be extrapolated to any customer, any use case, having a system integrator, having Red Hat there, and having all the partners. As I just said, customers are very firm in that they need to move these applications while maintaining the service that they're giving across cloud providers, or even not only cloud providers, but across different infrastructures. So here we're going to start with what we call the architecture. So all the architectures, or formerly known as solution architectures or portfolio architectures that we built, are done top down. So we start with what we call an architecture. That is what we can see here. It's a high-level representation of the different building blocks of the solution. We still are not calling out the actual product, but just the global solutions. And all the architectures are focused on the customer's business drivers and the challenges that they're trying to solve. So for this service continuity architecture, the main business drivers that the customers are facing or they are following when they decide to adopt them is, first of all, to maximize the availability and responsiveness of services, as we said. They also want to create an innovative and fully automated solution to do this without having to rely on manual intervention on systems administrators, having to be on call and receiving the alert that something has gone wrong on this particular cloud provider to move the data and redeploy the application somewhere else, and to ensure compliance with the industry standards. So making sure that all the applications that they have running on the containers, on virtual machines on containers, for example, are following their internal policies and also the industry standards, industry standard defined policies. So we're going to start diving a bit deeper into the components of these architectures. Here, there's a logical diagram, still quite high level, but we start calling out some of the elements. So what we're gonna have is a application platform where the customer application are deployed. They can be running either on virtual machines or containers. In this application platform, they're going to have a data resiliency solution. We will see in this particular case what it is in the next slide. They're going to have this same application platform replicated, so another cluster that will be used for disaster recovery. They will have a backup storage in the cloud or whatever, and S3, depending on the customer, where they're continuously backing up the application data and the cluster data and making it available in the disaster recovery cluster. They will have a monitoring application or solution, sorry, for to monitor the cluster where all the applications run. And there will be another cluster, which is the hub cluster. That's the governance cluster, if you will, with all the automation assets in the platform to run these automation assets, to be able to redeploy the applications and the management of the clusters to ensure that they're complying with the policies. So now we go, before going to the details of the diagrams, we're showing here how the solution is working with the actual products from Red Hat and from each of the partners. So what we have here is OpenShift as the application platform that we call out in the previous slide. Both clusters are going to be OpenShift clusters, so the main one in the disaster recovery cluster. Then the hub cluster will be an ACM, so Red Hat Advanced Cluster Management for Kubernetes. And also in this hub cluster, or where the hub cluster is deployed, we will have Red Hat Ansible Automation Platform. And then for the backup solution or the data resiliency solution is going to be Trilio, the data protection and recovery by Trilio. And for the monitoring solution, it's going to be Dynatrace, which is AIOps driven. We will see a bit more details later on. So Accenture, the center that developed this solution in conjunction with Red Hat is Navan, their center in Navan, or Excellence Center. So now we're going to see what I'm going more into the details, what the solution looks like. So this is the normal operation of the solution. On the left-hand side, we have our main OpenShift cluster. As we said, the applications can run directly on containers. They can run virtual machines using OpenShift virtualization. So all types of applications can be running here in this cluster. There's an operator, the Trilio operator deployed in this cluster to be able to use the Trilio backup and restore solutions. So the applications and the virtual machines as well are being constantly backed up. And in this case, they're being stored in an S3 bucket. All right, so we have the backup storage here. At the same time, this is being made available in the disaster recovery cluster that at the beginning of when the architecture was implemented, was created. So there's something that Trilio can do, their backup restore solution that is called continuous restore. So it's constantly an image of this backup that is stored in the S3 bucket is being made available in the disaster recovery cluster. So that cluster has to have the Trilio operator as well there. And we see that the main cluster is connected to the monitoring solution, which is Dynatrace, as we said. And we have here on the top of the screen of the diagram, the OpenShift, the hub cluster with ACM and the Ansible automation platform. Particularly here, event-driven Ansible will be very important because it's going to consume the events that come from Dynatrace. And we also have in this hub cluster, we have OpenShift GitOps deployed, or Argo CD, depending on what the customer chooses to do. That's to the initial deployment of the applications in the main cluster. And we will see when an error is detected, it will deploy the applications as well on the disaster recovery cluster. So now we move to this event that Dynatrace detects some error in one of the applications or whatever's happening, or maybe a problem with infrastructure on one of the cloud providers, as we were saying. What it does is to create an event that it sends to the Ansible automation platform. So for that, event-driven Ansible has the configuration of the event-driven Ansible has some rule books that have as source of events Dynatrace. And when those events are triggered and sent to Ansible automation platform, some playbooks are going to be triggered here. So what they're going to do is, first of all, instruct the Trilio backup and restore solution to restore the backup that is needed here in the disaster recovery cluster. So it will deploy, restore that backup and deploy the virtual machines if there are applications that are running on virtual machines, or the containers if there are applications running on containers. And for the actual deployment of the application, that will be done with Argo CD or OpenShift GitOps, as we mentioned earlier. It will be another playbook that it's run by an Ansible automation platform, instructing the GitOps solution to deploy those applications. So that's basically how it works in terms of when an error is detected. As I mentioned earlier, it's ACM, which is making sure constantly that the policies are met, so that the operators needed are present in both clusters, in the main cluster and the disaster recovery cluster, that they are on the same version and that they are compliant. And this is in a nutshell what the solution does. We can see, we want to look at more details, the elements of the Dynatrace platform that are being used here. So basically, one of the main components here is one agent. One agent is receiving all the data from the OpenShift cluster, and it's sending it to Avis AI. So that's when AIOps come into play, because Avis AI is analyzing the data and looking for patterns that might lead to an error or that detect an error that's already happened. And the automation engine that creates the events that are sent to the Ansible automation platform. So yeah, I'll stop here for you to ask questions. But yeah, as I said, it's the concept is pretty straightforward. The implementation has, as I said, with configuration of Dynatrace and Trilio, has more things to do. But yeah, this is how it works, and the concept is pretty straightforward, I think.
So question, this has been put together with the help of the three companies you had mentioned, Accenture, Dynatrace, and Trilio. Is this available today to purchase through them? Do they have the configurations other than what we've done here from an automation perspective? Is this defined beyond just the high level diagrams of how to put it together?
Mm-hmm. It is, I think, but at the moment, I think it's not available to productize it. Okay.
So going forward, if they wanted to deploy this, they'd work with Accenture.
Yes.
To go in and deploy this. Okay.
Yeah, at the moment, yes. I think it's just owned by Accenture at the moment, and they would need to go through Accenture for the actual implementation.
Absolutely. And this is also, it was presented previously at KubeCon, and they'll talk about it again at Summit, correct?
Yeah, and it was presented at Summit as well last year. And this year will be presented as well. So yeah, Jan Mikkelberst is the solution architect for Red Hat that presented and worked on the solution from the Red Hat side. And yeah, it will be him, I think, presenting again this year.
At that point, are they showing the event-driven automation and the other smaller aspects included in this solution?
As far as I know, I think they're showing all that. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe how the source of events are configured, and yes, I think that's in the live demo that they did last year, and I think they will repeat it this year. I'm gonna put here the link to the published architecture on the Red Hat Architecture Center. I'll just put it here on the chat.
That's great. I know we're not expecting a live demo today. You're not going to be, or are you going to be doing one?
No, I'm not doing a live demo today.
Okay. Just trying to make sure that we're pushing forward what we can do today and what we're going to be showing at like the summit and those sorts of things.
Yeah. So yeah, the live demo will be shown in a summit like last year.
Cool. Any other thoughts from folks on the call?
Well, I'm very interested in this effort because my project, we're doing food processing, and that protein, it can be, I mean, what you described, we may actually need some of that. So I would definitely contact y'all offline, because I mean, that's some of the challenges that we are facing. So that I'll be in touch.
Yeah. So I know that this architecture has not been built into a pattern as of yet, but it certainly has all the components, right? It is a distributed architecture, and in order to make something like this maintainable and repeatable, I think, you know, putting it into GitOps framework with a pattern would lend it to any time any one of those components were to change or would have an update, having the ability to go in and maintain that pattern over time and then extend it to multiple customers, I think it is very important for, say, for example, a system integrator who's trying to deploy a solution like this. Maybe additional areas of investigation with Accenture and others.
I'm certain that we've talked through things with Ricardo as far as these kind of things go. So yeah. Before we go, I did want to make sure that folks know that several of us will be at Summit. It's about a month away. If you're going to be on site, please reach out. We'd love to chat, to meet with you. There will be a session on HyperShift that's going to happen, I think, on Tuesday of that week. We have the patterns. We've spoken about it on this call before, but it's collaboration with Red Hat and Deloitte. So wanted to promote that session as well. But if you're going to be there, please reach out to Michael, myself, Ricardo. You're going to be there as well?
Yeah, finally, yes.
Would love to chat with you in person and schedule some time to sync up and see what we can do together.